Mace Windu, Servant of the Light, Council Member of the Order of Jedi that serve to protect the Republic and uphold the light side of the Force. Saint-14, Guardian of the Light and Protector of the Solar System, two immeasurable badasses that are very often associated with the color purple. These are two of my favorite characters in two different franchises that I love. Obviously, Windu belonging to the Star Wars mythos, while Saint-14 is from the game franchise Destiny. I thought these two would be great characters to have in a versus battle matchup. Both are from science fantasy settings that have loads of advanced technologies as well as a magic system. Mace Windu using the light side of the Force, whereas Saint-14 has been chosen to be a wielder of the light. Mace Windu at the time of his run was the second most powerful Jedi in the Order, even defeating the leader of the Sith, Darth Sidious, in one-on-one combat, while Saint-14 has various exploits, including being strong enough to wipe out demigods, and is a living legend, known as one if not the greatest guardians to ever live. Both are characters that are often downplayed by various fandoms or communities, so I want to go through both of these characters and explain the power and then give the evidence as to who would win if the two were ever forced to face off in battle. If you guys do enjoy, please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe, as well as turn on notifications for future videos. You can also follow me on Twitter down below. So first off, I'll be starting with Mace Windu, one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars franchise. Hopefully, he will return to the series one day. I mean, come on, we know that a Jedi could survive that fall. Anyways, Mace Windu is a human male who was brought up in the Jedi Order from a young age. After raising the ranks from youngling to Padawan to Knight, and then to Master, he would later join the Council, and eventually form his way up to being the second most powerful Jedi in the Order behind Yoda, and one of the most powerful Jedi in the history of the Order. And as I said before, the power of the Star Wars verse is massively downplayed, even to the point where people unironically believe that the speed of blasters are only the speed of the average baseball pitch, even though other calculations have pitted even some of the average blasters in the series to be Mach 6.5. And in the Legends continuity, there are numerous statements that outright claim that blasters move at light speed, which is actually backed up in A New Hope, as assuming the size of Alderaan and the distance of the Death Star, for the beam to travel that far to destroy it would require faster than light speeds to reach it in that time. So even if we took the Disney canon, which has blaster bolts at Mach 6.5, far faster than any fighter jet created in our world, you'd have average younglings reacting to and pairing several training drones at once with blaster fire, often those younglings having their vision blocked by a helmet. These same younglings, even at the beginning of their training, can have the power with the Force to lift or destroy large objects. Now imagine how that power could be fostered with decades of strict training, and imagine if that pupil had immense potential in the Force. That hypothetical would be Mace Windu. Now back to the canon of Star Wars. There are two canons. The old canon known as Legends, which featured numerous novels, comics, and video games that came out prior to Disney purchasing the franchise, and the new Disney canon, which included the new sequel trilogy as well as some video games, comics, and novels. For this video, we'll be focusing mainly on the Legends aspect of Mace Windu, since there is far more established lore to go off of for the character. With that, we can get a gauge for Mace Windu's actual speed, which even if we use the weaker Disney canon, would still be tens of times faster than the speed of light, but in Legends it gets far faster than that, as with the many statements and feats of blasters being light speed in Legends, and if younglings can react to these blasters, and Mace Windu is easily thousands of times stronger in the Force at the bare minimum than them, then you could argue that he would be at least many thousands of times faster as well, putting Mace Windu in the massively faster than light plus tiers of speed. In fact, if you try to use the average calculator to determine the difference, it would actually break the calculator. There's some crazy shit in Legends, like Palpatine traveling across the galaxy with the speed of his own Force, which was calculated to be at over 34,000 times the speed of light. So no, it cannot be considered crazy for Mace Windu, the Jedi who would have defeated the Dark Lord if not for the Chosen One intervening, to also be able to fight at thousands of times the speed of light. Furthermore, the Force acts as a natural sixth sense precognition for any Jedi. Well, this means that even if someone is a fair bit faster than them, he'd be able to use the Force to sense attacks before they came and plan around it. Now, Mace Windu's power is not just based in his speed, despite being incredibly fast. His skill with the blade and the Force he can strike with, as well as his general overall power with the Life Force is incredible. You might think it crazy at first, but Mace Windu has attack potency that far surpasses that of even planet level. Yarael Poof, a former council member himself, has his own planet level feat. There was this divine item that held a Force deity inside of it called the Infant of Shaw. This item was going to destroy the planet of Coruscant, and Yarael Poof used his own Force power to counter it. Furthermore, there are numerous statements about the power of Darth Sidious and his Force power, Legends even plays a quote from the original trilogy in which Darth Vader calls the power of the Death Star insignificant to the power of the Force, and the Death Star's destruction of Alderaan has been quantified as a dwarf star level feat. In the Legends material, Vader expands upon this quote and says that Sidious's power can wipe out entire systems, and Mace Windu was able to defeat this Sidious, which puts Mace's attack potency at solar system level, with him arguably being even multi-solar system level, as when a weaker Palpatine killed his own master, Darth Plagueis, the light of multiple star systems flickered from the power. Now what this means is that Mace's force attacks or attacks with his lightsaber could damage or kill people with solar system level durability or less, as the lightsaber that Mace uses is an extension of himself, his force energy flowing into the blade and pairing the Kyber crystal. Mace is an expert duelist with the blade, mastering his own unique form of combat called Form 7 Vapad, which allows him to increase his power by harnessing the anger of his opponent or even of himself, one of the key forms that allowed him to fight and defeat Darth Sidious. Furthermore, Mace Windu has a force ability called Shatterpoint. It is a link in the Force that allows him to see the fate in the Force, granting him the ability to seek out any weak points in his enemies. The Force is a pretty good multi-purpose power system. It would allow for Mace to grow stronger, faster, and more durable over a fight, allow him to force, push, pull, or slow objects, and his lightsaber paired with it is an unstoppable force. Now we can talk about Saint-14. Saint-14 is an exo, which is an android body uploaded with an actual human mind. So this means he can live, die, and be resurrected. This means that Exo can also be chosen by the Traveler to wield power, the source known as light. Basically, the Traveler made ghosts to resurrect dead warriors and don them as light bearers, guardians. Saint-14 was one of these guardians. Now, Exo typically have a number next to their name, which signifies how many times their memory has been reset, which means that Saint-14 has essentially lived 14 lives. Anyways, I don't want to go too deep onto the lore of Saint-14, as that could go on forever. There are plenty of lore videos on him to watch, but Saint-14 is a Titan-class Guardian, which means he's equipped with a suit of powered armor that boosts his strength, endurance, and all other physical capabilities with light. Like how we started with Mace Windu's speed, we'll be starting with the speed of Saint-14 as well. Since all Guardians use the light, and Saint-14 is not excluded from the fact, light isn't just the paracausal energy that it's stated to be, it also acts as regular light, which would make any Guardian at least light speed when powered by it. But this only gives us the average or lesser Guardians our light speed, but the more light a Guardian has, and the more proficient they are with using it, the faster they become, which is why even average Guardians can easily dodge the Sleeper Simulant, a light speed weapon, and other weapons that dwarf its speed. But it gets even crazier for Saint-14's speed, as he has multiple pieces of evidence that his speed to literally be infinite, as Saint-14 was trapped in the Infinite Forest, a large series of real infinite simulations created by the Vex. Yet Saint-14 had an attack that spread through the entirety of the forest. We know that he was in the forest for hundreds of years, which would still mean that Saint-14 has an infinite speed. You might think this is crazy, but it's backed up by further feats. The Vex can stalemate the daughters of Oryx. His daughters were able to manipulate the infinite-sized throne universe of their father, which would require infinite speed to do so. Furthermore, Oryx's son Crota created his own throne universe, which was infinite in size, and he is far inferior to his father. With Osiris scaling to Oryx and Saint-14 scaling to Osiris, this means that Saint-14 scales to have at least relative power and speed to Oryx. Creating an infinite-sized universe is an infinite speed feat, which gives Saint-14 a direct infinite speed feat as well, and scaling to multiple other characters who have infinite speed feats. But when it comes to power, attack potency, and durability, there are a few things to address. People often think Destiny is weak because they're using just laser weapons, even some kinetic weapons still as well. But this is kind of nonsense. These are weapons from hundreds of years in the future, provided with information gifted from a god, the Traveler. Not only that, but when these weapons are paired with a Guardian's light, they become reality makers and reality breakers. A Guardian with a gun is a rule maker that is used to alter reality itself. Going from there, in Destiny, there is an average group of Taken. They were going to destroy the moon, Io, and since average Guardians could mop the floor with average Taken, this would mean that the average Guardian can straight up fodderize moon-level enemies. And since Saint-14 could fodderize average Guardians, that serves as a good baseline for how strong Saint is. But his power drastically gets higher from here, as he scales well above the Guardians who can take down minions of Oryx. These minions have the power of being solar system or multi-solar system level, which skyrockets Saint-14's power up to there. But we don't really need to stay too long on that feat, because like I've already mentioned, Saint-14's power caused a rift across the entirety of the Infinite Forest, which is at least a Universal Plus feat, and even if you want to massively downplay it to high Universal or Infinite 3D, that still is very, very impressive. While his feat of rupturing the Infinite Forest is impressive, that is not all. he actually fought the Vex for centuries straight while trapped in the forest by himself. Mind you that the Vex are capable of stalemating demigods like the Daughters of Oryx, who are beings with multiversal power, which should then grant Saint that same level of power and durability. Saint-14 is actually such a beast that he fought the Martyr Mind, a Vex construct created with the sole purpose of defeating him. This thing was so strong that it could kill teams of Guardians on its own, and its plan to defeat Saint-14 was by stealing his light, which it succeeded. And while Saint-14 lost his light, he is so powerful and skilled without it that he was still able to defeat the Martyr Mind without his light.
I've killed enough of you to end the war. And you took my light. I guess that makes us even. What are you waiting for? Last words? Finish it, you cowards.
Though he would die at the end of the bout, which shows that Saint-14, without light, scales above average Guardians with light. If you want a comparative example in the Star Wars lore, imagine if a Jedi Master lost his ability to use the Force entirely, and then fought General Grievous, a warrior who was strong enough to defeat multiple average Jedi Knights at once, and that hypothetical Master still defeated General Grievous. It'd be like if a Jedi was so powerful that, despite losing all of their Force power, or losing and severing their connection to the Force, they were still stronger than Jedi Knights. That's a crazy example for how strong Saint-14 is. Saint-14 has a lot more standard equipment than Mace Windu. He wears armor. Not only does this armor act as a thick shield, but it harnesses light to empower his body further. Almost similar to how Thor's Mjolnir augments his lightning powers, these would act the same for Saint-14. This armor is very beefy. The Titan helmet is so heavy that if an average human were to wear it, it would crush their skull. Other armor plates are so massive that they would crush ribs or even rocks beneath their weight. Saint-14's main weapon is the fully automatic shotgun called the Perfect Paradox, which would be stronger than his own innate attack potency with the light, and has a trait called Rampage, which makes his gun even stronger the more enemies he kills. He can also use the Power Swords, which will make him use a lot in this versus battle, because his opponent will also be using a sword. One of Saint-14's most important pieces of equipment, though, is his ghost, Geppetto. Ghosts are the life and death of a Guardian. They provide support in many ways, but most important is the health of the Guardian. A ghost can heal its Guardian rapidly, even resurrect its Guardian from the dead back to life, meaning that if anyone could kill Saint-14, he would just come back into the battle unless they killed his ghost as well. So I've given a power scale of each of these avatars a power. If the two were to meet face to face on the battlefield, who would win? Well, the issue here is that Saint-14 has the advantage in the three most important characteristics of battle. He's faster, he's stronger, and he's more durable. Now, that does not always guarantee a victory in a versus battle, but the gap is massive in all of those. Within, sometimes these gaps can be overcome with abilities and hacks, but the question would then be, is Mace's abilities enough to overcome the power gap between him and Saint-14? Mace does have the ability to force heal, so if he does take some damage and survives, that could help, and Shatterpoint would allow him to find the weakness in Saint, like figuring out how he should kill his ghost. And his Vothad form could allow him to siphon the aggression of Saint's energy and empower himself, but despite these abilities closing the gap a bit, it's not going to be enough. Not only is Saint-14 literally infinitely faster than him, which means that his ghost with him will not be able to be hit, even if Mace somehow managed to kill his ghost, he would not be able to land a blow on Saint-14 anyways. The pad could work, but there's no way it works fast enough to turn the tide of that immeasurable gap, as since Saint has at least Universal Plus attack potency and durability, that puts, like I said, an immeasurable power gap between the two. While Mace is incredibly powerful in the Star Wars universe, the Destinyverse is just far stronger. And thus it makes sense that one of the strongest Jedi ever would be far inferior to one of the strongest Guardians ever. But don't be confused here. This does not mean that Mace is weak. Heck, he would still be one of the greatest Guardians ever if he were in the Destinyverse, if you just took him how he was in Star Wars and transplanted him into Destiny. It only makes you wonder, though, how strong Mace would be if he were transported into the Destinyverse and then granted light from the Traveler, as well as his Force power. Using both the light side of the Force and light itself, Mace would be unstoppable, especially if he got his hands on some Destiny armor and weapons, and spent some time in the verse hardening himself against the many, many hordes of enemies. With that being said, let me know your thoughts on this video down below. Do you want any other matchups for Star Wars, Destiny, Warhammer, or other sci-fi or fantasy characters? Let me know your thoughts. Hope you guys did enjoy. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Peace out.